Hi guys and welcome back. Today I'm working on this little watercolor painting and I want this video to be a bit of a conversation. I've been thinking a lot about my art. I know I've said that a lot, but I've been really introspective about a lot of the things that I do to make art because I want to make better art and I want to be happier doing it. And recently, as in maybe the last couple of weeks, I've realized that there's one specific element that I'd really like to focus on moving forward that I have already realized now that I made this little switch has made me so much happier with the process. And that's just where I've gone back to traditionally sketching out my ideas. And I want to talk about it today because I feel like it really was just it was a fear thing, and I'm trying to be brave now. So I want this, like I said, to be a bit of a conversation where I can talk a bit about the things that I've been thinking about and dealing with and struggling with and realizing. And I would love to hear from you guys any moments that you've had to be brave with your own artwork. But for me personally, I used to always sketch traditionally, and then I went to school, college, and then I transitioned over to always sketching traditionally. It was a process. It wasn't like instantaneously, but I realized how much easier it was to fix mistakes in the sketches and make it right. And when I was working at school, I needed to be able to get things done quickly and get them on schedule because I'd have multiple art classes at one time and different assignments that I had to get done. So it was at that moment that I realized that, wow, sketching digitally was so much better and it was perfect. It solved all my problems. And at that point in my life, it really was something that I needed. And over the years, I just never thought twice about it. And the more time went by where I was only sketching digitally, the more I didn't sketch traditionally. I didn't do it at all anymore. And yeah, it's probably been a couple of years since I would really sit down with a sketchbook and sketch. And it didn't really hit me until recently that it wasn't because I preferred the experience of sketching digitally. It was because I was afraid of sketching traditionally, because there were so many mistakes that would be there and I couldn't instantly fix them. And there was just a lot of fear that I had built into the sketching process. And if I was perfectly happy with digital, then that wouldn't have been a problem. If I could just sit down and I would love sketching that way in Photoshop or on my iPad, then yeah, it wouldn't be an issue at all. But I realized that I was almost dreading where I had to sit down and sketch out a new idea for a piece. And it was really just, I didn't want to sit there and stare at my computer anymore. It didn't have that connection to the idea. And over the last maybe 2 weeks, I've tried just doing entirely traditional sketching for the initial sketch. So what I've found that works perfectly for me is, at least for now, I'm kind of trying to relearn things and figure out how to make it work right for me. But I like to get the idea down traditionally where I can sketch it out in pencil, and that gives me so much more creative feelings for the piece, where I feel like my mind is in just a much better state when I'm working on it. I'm thinking and imagining, and when I'm working digitally, I get really just wrapped up in looking at references or looking for references or being frustrated that I don't have that perfect idea to put down right away on that blank sheet. So it feels so much more rewarding. I feel much more attached to the sketch as I build it up and I erase things and I make it right, and I have to really put in that time to figure it out and fix it and figure the idea out. So I've found that it is just way more rewarding to work that way. But then I like to take it into my Photoshop, and that's where I can start fixing any issues that were still there in that traditional sketch, like if the nose is too far down or if the arm needs resized or anything like that. Just things that the free transform tool works really well at. I like to tighten everything up in that last pass, and then I can print it out and work on it traditionally again. But it was kind of a really scary moment when I realized that for me to really get the most amount of joy out of painting and drawing, I would have to go into this really scary place. And I know this sounds kind of silly because probably a lot of you do sketch traditionally, but it's something where you just get into your own head and you get into your own process, and that is the way that you do it. And when you have to branch out into something new where you don't know if it's going to work out, it can be really scary to imagine spending all that time on something and it not turning out. Or for me, it's when I sit down to draw something and nothing comes out. I draw things, but they're just not good enough. And that feeling is really hard to deal with. So I had to really be aware of the fact that I was editing my process based on fear, and not on things that actually produce better work or allowed me to work better. And it has been really liberating since then. I'm still scared when I sit down with a traditional sketchbook and a pencil. I'm scared that I'm really going to mess it up, or that I'm going to erase something and then realize that I actually wanted that there. And I don't know, there's just a lot of those feelings that are still there, but the more that I push through them and the more that I just let myself get lost in a sketch, the more I actually enjoy it. I'm really excited. It's kind of interesting because it's this thing in my art history that used to give me so much joy. I loved sitting down with a sketch and I would just spend days on it, fixing arms and eyes, and at that point in my life, quite a ways back, I had to really struggle to make things look right, and I didn't use references nearly as much as I should have, but it was such a feat of success for me to be able to arrive at the end of a sketch where I felt like it was good. I fixed all those things and I felt so proud of it, and I miss that feeling where I do have to struggle a little bit more for it, and I do have to spend a bit more time with the sketch to get it to that final end product. And I do think that it helps me feel much more attached and connected to the piece of artwork. That's another thing that I've been feeling a lot of, is where I feel really detached from the art that I'm making, where I don't feel like it matters or it feels like something I really want to paint. And the past couple of weeks, this has really helped me with that. It's helped me realize the value in some of the pieces that I have been working on, and simply the value of spending time with it and letting it become something important to me. I don't think overcoming this fear has made my sketches better at all yet, but it has absolutely made the difference in me wanting to draw more. And I do feel that over time this transition will turn into better artwork, that I'll make things that have more spark to them. That's what I'm hoping, but I kind of feel it. I feel like this will give me more opportunity to really just make it more special, make it something that has more going on and more to it, and more symbolism and more movement to the lines. And I have a lot of hope and excitement for this process. But yeah, like I said, I would love to hear from you guys. What are things that you felt you had to overcome your fear in, whether it was working in, say, a certain type of medium or a style, or learning how to use reference? There's just an endless supply of things to be afraid of when it comes to making artwork. And I really do think that the first most important step to overcoming that, if you want to overcome that, is recognizing it as such. There have been many points in my life where I've drawn a certain way because I was afraid, but I didn't say that to myself. I felt like it was I don't want to do that because it's not in my style, or I don't want to do that because it doesn't fit with the medium that I'm working with, or whatever the excuse was. But deep down, I think it really was truly that I was afraid of making something that I wouldn't like, or that wasn't good enough. It didn't live up to the other things that I had done when I was just sitting in that comfort zone. And I think another reward to this whole process of getting back into traditional sketching is that at the end of it, I'm going to have a sketchbook that's full of sketches. And before, when I would do everything digitally, I would just have a bunch of files with sketches on it. And the thing is that the digital sketches on their own, they don't look good. They don't look inspiring, I should say. They're not something that when I look at it, I just want to make more art. When I look at it, it has the baseline for a final, which was what it had to be. That's all it needed to be. But with the traditional sketches, there's just so much life to it. They're a piece of artwork on their own. And I'm definitely not saying that all digital sketches don't have that spark. I'm saying mine didn't for me. So I'm excited to be able to continue with this, with doing traditional sketches and then having a sketchbook full of them at the end of it. And then maybe I'll actually have a sketchbook that I could show a sketchbook tour with. I don't think I've ever been able to do that before. And that's about it for today. I do have a Black Friday weekend sale going on till the end of December 2nd. And that's 20% off of everything, including this original painting. You just have to use the code BLACK20. And I've got that down in the description. I've also got a link to my art shop. And I do have a special code for my patrons. If you want to get a little bit of an extra discount, you can either sign up for Patreon or you can be a patron already and go check out that code that I have listed up over there. But yeah, that is about it. I will be back next week with another art video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you then.